Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Comic Call, the last one of the year. Looks like I'm a little off kilter. It's interesting. I seem to be uh, a few seconds ahead of what's on the screen right now, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll all sync up in time and you guys can hear me. Anyway, this is the show. This is my final episode of the year. So I don't know, this doesn't really look good, but I'll give it a try and hope to God that it gets done. This week's Comic Call was a little bit bigger than I thought it would be. And for the last week of the year, I'm surprised about the number of books that actually came out this week. So without further ado, here is this week's final haul of the year. It's a lot of stuff. As I said, surprised me immensely. First up, we have Doomsday Clock number 2, which is the crossover between the Watchmen and DC Universe that Jeff Johns and Gary Frank are doing. First issue was okay. I don't think it's quite as groundbreakingly crazy as people are thinking it is, but we'll see what happens. But so far it's been fairly. I mean, it's nice to look at, but it just is. It's 12 issues, so I guess they're taking their time to go through the stuff. So there's that. So also speaking of major crossovers, this is another one of the tie-ins to Dark Knight Metal. This is Hawkman Found, written by Jeff Lemire with art by Brian Hitch and Kevin Nolan inks, and it sort of reintegrates Hawkman back into the DC Universe, I guess, because he is a major part of Metal. And so add him to your list of what's going to be coming. So we'll see what happens. So the artwork looks nice, and Jeff Lemire, whatever you want to call him, is very good. And I think, is there a backup? No, there's no backup. So there's that. Also, crossover-wise, we have part 3 of the Super Sons of Tomorrow, crossing over so far with Super Sons, Superman, and Teen Titans. I don't know where the next part is going to cross over with. Does it say? Let me find out here. Superman. Looks like it's going to conclude in Superman. This is written by Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason, with art by Ed Benes and Jorge Jimenez, with inks by Ed Benes, Richard Friend, and Jorge Jimenez. So it looks good. An interesting story. So the Super Sons of Tomorrow is an interesting take on things. So nice artwork. And then Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason have been writing the heck out of Superman and Super Sons. So far, so good. Next up, we have Batgirl number 18. I think this was supposed to come out last week. It is a Christmas-oriented issue, and it doesn't quite have all the ads that were in this week's stuff. It has stuff that was in last week's stuff. It's written by Hope Larson with art by Sami Bazzari, where Batgirl celebrates Christmas by taking on Harley Quinn in a battle royale. I really hope it's... my voice is coming out over here. All right. Looks nice. Next up, we have Action Comics number 994, 6 issues away from 1,000. It's written by Dan Jurgens with art by Dan Jurgens and inks by Art Thibault, Trevor Scott, Johnny Desjardins, and Joe Parado. Dan Jurgens created Booster Gold way back in the 80s and keeps bringing him back and keeps drawing him because he loves his creation. Even though Booster Gold belongs to the DC Universe, it is Dan Jurgens' baby, and he will continue to draw and write him as long as he can. I mean, it was funny. Jeff Johns took over the writing of the Booster Gold story, or Booster Gold regular series when it was the New 52. And I think Dan Jurgens did art for it. And then Jeff Johns left, and Dan Jurgens was like, "Oh, I'll do the story as well." So. Next up, we have Detective Comics number 971, continuing their storyline. It's written, follow the Batman storyline. It's written by James Tynion IV with art by Miguel Medonco, inks by Diana Egea. Okay, had to be sure. So I couldn't. So this continues the adventures of the Batman family. Some nice artwork. It's a good Batwoman. So interesting story, centering on Clayface, who's became a good guy. Next up is, I really like this cover. This is Flash number 37. What's interesting about this story, it's written by Joshua Williamson, it's drawn by Scott McDaniel, with inks by Mick Gray. Scott McDaniel hasn't done artwork for DC in a really long time, so it was really interesting when I opened up the book and saw Scott McDaniel artwork. I was like, wow, that's quite interesting, actually. So maybe he'll go on and continue to do the art for the series, or at least finish up the storyline. But this is a really nice cover. I like the cover. And again, DC going with the word balloons on their covers. There's that one. And there was another one. Yeah, there's another one coming up. But first up, we've got Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps, number 35. The four main Green Lanterns that we've seen before. Robert Venditti, Jack Herbert, Tom Derenick did breakdowns. Jack Herbert's artwork is really, really nice looking. As I said it before, it's very Steve Epting-esque, and I like that. But again, we have a typical story where the Guardians of the Universe get kidnapped again, which seems to be a consistent storyline that's getting a little old, to be honest. But this time you get, instead of the full core, you get the four main guys working together to take them on. Next up, we have Wonder Woman number 37. I think this is the final issue of the story arc that James Robinson and Carlos Paglione has been drawing. Steven Segovia also does pencils. Jason Piles, Art Thibbert, and Raul Fernandez are inks. So we'll see who is going to take over the writing chores in the next issue, or if James Robinson is now the current writer. But this is a big issue, actually, a bit more surprising that this actually returns Darkseid to the DC universe. He was an infant, and now it looks like he is back. So Darkseid is back, so we'll see what that has to do with anything. And considering that Superman now runs Apocalypse, so we will see what's going on with that. And hopefully they haven't forgotten about that, and that they continue to connect the stories, because, you know, if you just have Darkseid return to Apocalypse but have Superman also in charge of Apocalypse, it doesn't make any sense. So here's hoping it does. Justice League of America number 21, again with the word balloons. Art by Steve Orlando, written by Steve Orlando, with art by Stephen Byrne. I saw Byrne, I was like, "Ooh, John Byrne did artwork." It's like, nope, just Stephen Byrne, but it focuses on the Ray. Aztecs in this as well. In the new year, I may have to cull my herd. This might be one of the books that I might cull, because I really haven't been reading it. I just like it because it's a different take on the Justice League, and I like Steve Orlando's work, but sometimes I just gotta, with all the new comics coming out from DC in the aftermath of Metal, it should be really interesting to see what I'm going to continue with. Meanwhile, we have another mini-series featuring one of the supernatural characters from DC. This is Demon, Hell is Earth. It's written by Andrew Constant, with art by Brad Walker and Andrew Hennessy. Brad Walker and Hennessy are the only ones I really recognize. I've never read any of Andrew Constant's stuff before, so I couldn't tell you what it's about. But it's a demon. It's demon. It's supernatural characters, which I love DC supernatural universe, and wish they would do it more often. But, you know, artwork is of course wonderful, and it's $2.99, so can't go wrong with that. We've done it. Way back in last January, we started talking about this book, probably the last week of January, and now it is the last week of December, and finally we have Commandy Challenge number 12, the double-sized, not really, yeah, kind of double-sized finale to the Commandy Challenge storyline. To reiterate, over the last year, a gaggle of 12 different writers have written each an issue of Commandy Challenge. The first writer set the story in motion and ended on a cliffhanger. And then the second issue, the new writer and artist had to come in and fix the cliffhanger, tell their story, and then set up another cliffhanger for the third writer or something like that. But some great writer-artist teams, stuff like that. This last one, you get written by Gail Simone with art by Jill Thompson. The first 5 issues. This is Jill Thompson stuff. And Ryan Sook gets the last remaining parts of the book. So, and then Ryan Sook, I always loved his artwork. He started off as a Mike Mignola clone, but he's discovered his own thing, and he's got a new book coming out in the new DC universe coming out after Metal. And there's also a epilogue written by Paul Levitz with art by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez and inks by Joe Prado, where Jack Kirby actually goes and talks to Commandy, Shades of Animal Man. So nice artwork, and one last little epilogue, and we get the end of the story. So there you go. That's going to be it for Commandy Challenge. So I might sit down now and read all 12 issues and see how well the story plays out. I'm a new shirt. I am Groot. Next up, we have Kurt Busiek and John Paul Leon doing Batman Creature of the Night. Superman Secret Identity is one of the best miniseries of all time and is a great Superman story, while not actually being a Superman story, written by Kurt Busiek. Well, this is his version of a Batman story. I haven't read the first issue yet, so hopefully it's just as good as Secret Identity, because Secret Identity was just absolutely brilliant. So this one focuses on a guy by the name of Bruce Wainwright, whose parents get killed. He's always been a big Batman fan, but his parents get killed the same way as Bruce Wayne's parents, but now there's some sort of satanic bat creature that follows him around, and it's hard to tell if it is him or if it's something else. So Kurt Busiek has never let me down, so I'm going to sit down. I'm going to read these 2 issues and see how they are, and we'll go from there. That's it for regular DC. From Vertigo, we have Imaginary Fiends #2, written by Tim Seeley, with art by Stefan Molnar. I like the first issue, and I also like Tim Seeley, so we'll see how long this one lasts as well. But I decided to get the second issue to see if it's still just as good, and it is a Vertigo book, so I don't really have too many of those. So I'll check that out. That is it for the DC books. Marvel, I'm a bit disappointed because my comic store, for whatever reason, did not have the new Amazing Spider-Man issue that just came out this week. So that was Amazing Spider-Man 793. They ran out. Maybe they got their order cut, or maybe they didn't order enough, or whatever. Maybe there's something that's going on that I don't know about. So I'll have to pick it up in a week or two whenever they get their reorders in, so we'll see what happens. But for now, we have Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows #14, which takes place in an alternate dimension where Peter Parker and Mary Jane are married and they have a daughter. This is 8 years later. They all have powers and they're all spider people. This is written by Jody Hauser with art by Nick Roach. And so, they all have superpowers and they work together as a family fighting crime. So next up, we have Moon Knight #190, written by Max Bemis with art by Jason Burrows and inks by Guillermo Ortego. So it's another take on Moon Knight. I like Jeff Lemire's version really well, and we'll see what happens with this one. This seems to be more of a comic book oriented storyline and not so much a psychological thriller things. And Moon Knight's in just his typical costume. So and we discover that he actually has a daughter in this one. So interesting. Next up, we have Captain Marvel #127, I got this from my wife. I really haven't been reading it, but my wife has. It's Margaret Stoll writer, Michelle Bandini artist, and continuing the Captain Marvel Legacy storyline. So I'm sure I think my wife has probably read most of these. So that. Next up, we also have Ben Reilly, The Scarlet Spider, number 12, written by Peter David with art by Will Sliney. This one, again, is probably one that, despite the fact that I love Peter David, is not what I was expecting. I was expecting a Mark Bagley book. Instead, I get Will Sliney, which is nothing, no slight on Will Sliney, but I wanted to get it mostly for Mark Bagley and Peter David, so we'll see what happens. But that new issue is out now. In the Star Wars world, we have Mace Windu, Jedi Republic, the final issue of his miniseries, written by Matt Owens with art by Denny Cohen and art by inks by Roberto Poggi. So it's good to see Mace Windu jump out in his own miniseries. And it ends here. The Marvel Star Wars stuff is absolutely bonkers. They have a Thrawn is going to be the next miniseries coming out in February. So there's a teaser for that. This one I wasn't going to get, but considering on Christmas Day, we stayed at home and we watched the Last Jedi at the movie theater. And I looked at the Diamond listings for what's came out this week. And I saw books that said The Last Jedi, Star Wars. Like, oh, they made a comic book that follows up on stuff in The Last Jedi. Well, I'll get it. And I pick it up. It's like, oh, wait, no, it isn't. But it does sort of fit in with The Last Jedi. It is a one-shot called Star Wars, The Storms of Crate. Now, for those who don't know, Crate is the planet that the finale of the movie takes place in. Not really too many spoilers, but I will tell you this. The Rebels have found themselves at an old Rebel base in The Last Jedi, which is on this planet Crate, which is kind of like a Hoth-esque type of planet. It's got the crystal foxes and stuff like that you've seen in the trailers. It had been a Rebel base years, like 20, 30 years earlier. This book, I think probably about 20 years, maybe 30 years. This comic details how the Rebels came to get that base. It's written by Ben Acker and Ben Blackner with art by Mike Mayhew, whose artwork is phenomenal. And that's another reason why I decided to pick it up also. But this takes place slightly after A New Hope, where they're trying to find a new Rebel base after Alderaan got destroyed. And they found Crate. And this is how they set up their new base on Crate that gets used in the finale of The Last Jedi. So, good pickup for those who read The Last Jedi. But it also looks like that they're going to be doing more Last Jedi one-shots, because this one's coming out at the end of January about the character played by Benicio del Toro called DJ. This one looks actually really, really good, so I might probably pick this one up as well. So we'll see about that. That's it for Marvel. Because I'm a big dumb male and I like this kind of stuff, here's my cover of the week for / Resurection number 3. I'm a guy. It's written by Teenie Howard with art by Sealor. Tim Seeley is the creator of it, and I loved his stuff, and I love this character, and I sort of lost track of / but now I'm coming back to it. I got the / Vampirella crossover, and I got this one as well, the new miniseries. So I'm going to keep trying to get caught up with this, and maybe down the line I might buy the omnibuses so I can get caught up on it, because I really did like / a lot. So hopefully the new stuff, it's not by Tim Seeley, will continue here. These are the omnibuses I need to try to pick up. So long look at the cover. Maybe this will be my thumbnail. That'd be fantastic. So just another long, nice look at the cover of the week. All right. Oh. Next up, speaking of Star Wars, we have Star Wars Adventures #5 with the Porgs. It also features a story with Princess Leia. It's written by the story of Princess Leia is written by Landry Q. Walker with art by Eric Jones. They're the ones who did the fantastic Supergirl of the Middle School story from many years back. We also have Tales from the Wild Side, The Best Pet, written by Delilah S. Dawson and art by Ariana Florine. So this is the Princess Leia. Luke's in the torture device that they used on Han. This is Princess Leia saving Luke from the Empire. And continues the storyline. And then we also get a Porg story. Yay, Porgs! Hooray! So, even though, Disney and Marvel are doing Star Wars books, this seems to be more of a all ages type of book. And we've got a week of women of Star Wars books coming out soon. So that might be a lot of fun to look at as well. So keep that up. Next up, we have Back to the Future, Tales from the Time Train #1. Last week, we had the last issue of Back to the Future, the regular series. This starts, I think it's a new series with follows Doc Brown's family through their adventures in time in the time train. It's written by Bob Gale and John Barber. Bob Gale is the creator and writer of the original Back to the Future trilogy and the comic. Art by Megan Levins. And we get a look at what Doc Brown and his family have been doing in the time train and their adventures there. So that's always been something that people would be interested to take a look at. So, and get Bob Gale, who's one of the creators of the series, writing the book itself. How can you go wrong? All right, almost done. Just a little bit different to end up here. Next up, we have Rasputin, the Voice of Dragon, Part 3. From Dark Horse with Francisco Francavilla cover, which I absolutely love also. This would probably be the second best cover of the week after the, where's that one again? Oh yeah, after this one. Whoa, do that. It's written by Mike Mignola and Chris Roberson with art by Christopher Mitten, and it details Rasputin's rise into leading up to the first Hellboy story, where Rasputin was the main bad guy, and you follow his adventures here. It's a 5-issue miniseries. I figure I'll just keep up with it and then be done with it. So it seemed interesting at the time, so that's why I got it. Oh, that reminds me. A moment of silence for our princess. Here and here. Carrie Fisher died a year ago today. So a moment of silence for our princess. Okay. Finally, we have Fujitsu #4 from Aftershock, written by Jai Nitz with art by Wesley St. Clair. Kind of an anime style influence. Manga, I guess, is the real name for it. Manga is the comic, anime is the cartoons. So, and Aftershock can do no wrong. So that's it for comics this week. As I said, Amazing Spider-Man 793 also came out this week. I didn't get it because my store was out of it. Hopefully I'll get it next week or in 2 weeks. There are other books that came out this week, believe it or not. Phoenix Resurrection is another big one that came out this week, which I didn't buy because it didn't interest me. What was the other big surprise one? Spider-Man 2 reintroduces something to Marvel that everyone thought was gone. So big surprises from Marvel this week. There's also a big surprise reveal in Phoenix Resurrection as well. But to end the year, When I saw this listed as coming out this week, I had to have it because this is one of my absolute favorite shows, or not shows, comics from the past. And I don't think I've ever read the early stuff, or if I did, I don't remember it. But this is a collection of the first 10 issues of Power Pack. Love Power Pack. This is the classic ones from the 1980s. I had to get it just because I love Power Pack. It was all written by Louise Simonson with art by June Brigman, with Mary Wilshire, Mark Badger, and Brent Anderson, inks by Bob Wycheck. And it's the story of a family that gets superpowers from aliens and the adventures they have. Down the line, they become friends with Franklin Richards, and he joins the team. And the team itself is just, it's a fun, all ages book. Nice artwork, nice story, good family-friendly stuff, fun crossovers. They released a one-shot of Power Pack, trying to gauge interest to see if anyone was interested in having Power Pack come back in Marvel Legacy. So we'll see if that comes around. So that's all the stuff that came out this week. As I said, this is not everything that came out this week. This is just the stuff that I collect. There is a lot more stuff that came out. So if you're a fan of some of that stuff, go to your local comic book store and do it. It is the final episode of the Comic Haul for the year. Hopefully I did not have technical difficulties because things seem to be a little off, and hopefully you guys can hear everything I'm saying. I hope you can. I'll find out later if you can. If not, I'll be like, oh well. Not that anybody really watches this show anyway, but you know what? I don't do it because I want people to watch. I do it because I want to show off the comics I'm having. This finishes almost a year, maybe year and a half straight almost of doing this show. So I've been pretty consistent getting this show on the air. There have been times where I've had to double or triple up because I missed a few weeks here and there, but I think it's mostly double in this go round. So hopefully more to come next year. The big thing is DC is going to go crazy again with their Age of Heroes stories. So all these new series with great creative teams are coming up. So that should be an interesting thing to see in the future. And what's that? So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, you know, this is a perfect time. Probably next week, probably the perfect time to start culling my list, to start bringing down the cost of my comics. Because it is starting to get a little astronomical for me, and I need to start saving for a new car because we need a new car. So you might be seeing less comics. You're not going to see less Comic Haul, but you might see less comics from what I get. Be forewarned that there are still plenty of comics that are going to be out, and this is not everything that that are out. So go to your local comic book store. If you don't know where your local comic book store is, go to your search engine, type in the CSLS, or the Comic Shop Locator Service. When it comes up, click on it. It'll take you to the Comic Shop Locator Service website. You type your zip code in, you hit enter. It'll give you a list of all the comic book stores within about a 20-mile radius of your house. So if you don't know where there is one, go check out and see. You know, you have a whole list of them to go see where they are. Check out. Comics are for everyone now, and it's not all superheroes. They've got all kinds of cool, crazy stuff out there for everyone. So I highly recommend you go out there and explore your local comic book store. Make it a resolution for next year. I resolve to go check out the local comic book store and see if there's stuff in there that I like, because I think you might find something you'll like. So on that note, that's 2017 in the books. Next week, comics are going to come out on January 3rd. So that'll be 2018. So either the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, maybe possible. I will do a brand new episode of the Comic Haul with the new comics that came out for 2018. And also next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend will probably be the first Dylan Knows Comics with MJ Con of the year, where we'll be discussing the plethora of superhero movies that'll be coming out in 2018 and ranking the ones for what you should go see. As for Dylan Knows, I'll be doing my In Memoriam episode this weekend, probably Saturday night, possibly, could be Sunday. There's Christmas stuff going on Saturday, Sunday, Monday in my family, so we will see when the timing comes. So look out for that. So again, this is 2017. It's been a long year. Hopefully 2018 will be a better, brighter year. And as I said, make a resolution. Go to your local comic book store. Pick up some new comics. Pick up some new stuff. There's some good stuff coming. Some good stuff out. Particularly Strangers in Paradise. The new series comes out in January. So that's one that you will be seeing on the Comic Hall in a few weeks. So on that note, I wish you all a happy new year. And I will see you in 2018. And hopefully everything worked out for this episode. Bye now.